I should therefore like Parliament to remember these basic things. Here is something that is proposed, which in effect clarifies and elucidates the Constitution and brings it completely in line with what the makers of the Constitution intended. Unfortunately, they did not do so in clear enough language, and therefore the courts have interpreted it differently. So, first, it is a matter of elucidation. Secondly, it is wrong to say that we are suggesting any arbitrary action, any confiscatory action, or any expropriatory action. In fact, the Constitution has said that there should be compensation by law, but it is said that there should be compensation by law, but it is true that the quantum of compensation will be determined by the legislature. I cannot say offhand what in a particular case the legislature might do, but by and large, if you may be if you have to govern this country democratically, you have to trust the legislature not only in this but in a hundred other matters of far greater moment. This legislature might decide on some far reaching change affecting perhaps a question of magnitude as war and peace. Surely the Supreme Court will not decide that. It may decide other questions in ways which directly or indirectly might even affect property. All kinds of decisions may be taken which will have a powerful effect on our social and economic structure, and for example on planning, but it is the legislature's will that is bound to prevail in such matters. There is no way out of it. It seems to me a basically wrong approach to single out of this question of compensation and to take it out of the purview of the legislature in the sense of somebody else revising the legislature's decision. Such a course can be thought of only if you think that property is something semi-divine and that the protection of private property is to the largest good of the nation, which hardly anyone today will say. Obviously, I do not know how I can deal with these fears and apprehensions. There is no remedy for fear except the absence of fear. Today, in the larger world context, nations are afraid, and because they are afraid, they often say and do the wrong things. Things thus get worse. I do not know what we shall do about it in the international sphere. Some people in this country and some outside have all manner of apprehension on this vital issue. In this transitional age, to think in a static way and to imagine that property has is exactly the same place in human life as it used to have means that we have stopped thinking. These apprehensions and fears therefore appear to me completely unjustified. Far greater developments and disasters might suddenly confront the world, and in this context, for somebody to be afraid of some mill or plant or factory being acquired seems to me out of proportion so far as this government is concerned. My mind is perfectly clear on the subject. I have no respect for property except perhaps some personal belongings, but I respect the other person's respect for property occasionally. The House will forgive me if I speak in a personal sense. I have no property sense. It seems a burden to me to carry property. It is a nuisance in life's journey. One should be lightly laden. One cannot be tied down to a patch of land or a building. I cannot appreciate this intense attachment of property. But while not appreciating it, I realize and recognize its prevalence. At the same time, I think the proposition that some honorable members on the opposite side advanced about acquisition or confiscation without compensation seems to me basically wrong. I say so from the point of view of the public good, not because I love property, except in particular cases where a person misbehaves and so on. I do not want anything to be acquired except on payment of just compensation. I need not refer to foreign capital here. I am surprised to hear the proposal being put forward repeatedly that we must confiscate or expropriate foreign capital. I cannot imagine anything more thoughtless and unrealistic. It has no relation to reality. No country where it is socialist or communist or of any other type can do it except in the thunder of war or revolution, when things happen not because of law or policy but because of historical forces. I am quite certain that the Soviet Union will never do it in regard to any foreign capital that may be there. It will not do it because international relations will be affected. No country wants to spoil its international relations or its credit in the world by doing this kind of thing in order to save a few crores or a few millions in financial terms. Soviet Russia, leaving the revolution aside, has had dealings with other countries, and it has developed a reputation of always honoring its word, financial word. Other European countries have not done so sometimes, but the Soviet Union has done always. It is very careful about preserving that reputation. Let us not therefore pursue this talk of expropriating foreign capital. It is not worth it. We are not such a poor country as to go about indulging in tactics which will lose us the goodwill and the which will lose us the goodwill and the credit of the world, and which will perhaps leave a feeling of wrongdoing in our minds and hearts. Even inside our own country, we cannot think of schemes and policies in isolation. We deal, for example, to land what are referred to as schemes of social engineering cannot often be dealt with in the normal way of acquisition of land or property. We cannot acquire acquire the whole land at once. We have to go about it gradually. We have to find out about our capacity to pay, and then the payment can be graded. That is when we acquire the property, as we did in the case of zamindars. The relatively poor zamindars gets full compensation 100%. Another person may get about 80%, the third 70, and the fourth 60. There is no trouble there. But let us look at the industrial and business ventures we are acquiring. The Imperial Bank, so far as I know, we are paying pretty full compensation in whatever form it may be. By not doing so, we may save a little money here and there, but it will injure us. It will be even more wrong in the case of the small owners not to give them full compensation. I am surprised that one of these minutes of dissent hints that we are out to harm the small owner. I submit that it is an unfair charge. Nobody can do it. How can we, this parliament or this government, can anybody conceive of this parliament or any other legislature going out to harm the small owner? The self-interest of the average member will shout out against such a step if nothing else. Coming to industrial property, our approach is that the government should never acquire any old plant except for the purpose of holding some strategic point for the benefit of planning. The reasons behind this approach are obvious. We are an underdeveloped country industrially speaking. We want to industrialize the country. We want hundreds of factories to go up in every corner of the country.